Okay, if you're here, maybe you want to say hello in the chat, so I know you are here. And you can. I'm going to put an announcement on the X account. Just give me a second. It's my first one, so I'm not sure yet all the details of this. Okay, so all right. Ciao, Lazzoni. Come stai? Okay, so this I'm going to do these sessions on a regular basis. Sorry the mess in the background. We'll try to find a useful background at the point. Anyway, so I wanted to cover few topics today. Mostly, let's see if I can actually. I think it will be recorded automatically. Ciao, Rainer. Sorry if I pronounce your names not correctly. Yeah, that is a good question. Do you expect the dip before the bull run? Yeah, let's talk about that in a moment. Ciao, Miki. Okay, so we can have these on a regular basis, maybe once a week or a couple of times. And my intention is to cover different topics. We can go through the chart using the power law. So we basically develop an indicator, and if you go to the YouTube community page, all the information should be there. The indicator, it's available to the Discord channel, so I also invite you to join our Discord channel because I do a lot of things on the X account, but the Discord channel is a better way for me to talk to everybody, interact with everybody, and also we are building a community around this. It's not just about the power law; it's this entire philosophy that we have about how to understand Bitcoin. That is basically not a random asset, even if, of course, locally can do something random, but there is this overall trajectory that we can predict. And the idea is also to try to see if we can use some of the information from the power law also to see what it does on a daily basis. Because even if most of us want to hold on our Bitcoin, there are times where maybe you want to do some trading, or maybe you decide if you want to buy more Bitcoin and you're waiting for the dip, so it's useful information to have. Plus, working together, we can help each other with questions or things that we can see in the chart that maybe the other person doesn't see. So it's a useful thing to do it. So anyways, if you join the Discord, and you should have, basically this is how it works. It's I'm trying to make this my profession. I'm quitting basically everything else I'm doing, all the other activities, or at least put them in the back burner, and I'm focusing on doing this educational work. I'm a teacher, a professor. Basically, this is what I have done most of my life. Or I have spent also time as a researcher, and so I want to combine my passion for Bitcoin and my passion for teaching, and not, I'm only depending on the support of the people that are interested in this. So I'm not, because of course the entire idea is for us to save and for the long term. So I'm not going to ask you to pay hundreds of dollars to support me, but if you can support me at any level. So the basic Discord membership, it's only $5, which I think is super reasonable. And then there are other levels, where if you can afford it, you want to support me, we want to support this research, will be great. Because I'm also trying to involve other people, like a team of people. And so if we make, if there is a more of an income, it's not just about me. I can actually share with some members in the team, and maybe even some of you want to join eventually. This could be something that we do together as a team. So right now I have some of my ex-students, they want to work on creating maybe an app. They can do a lot of the things that the power law tell us, but maybe in automatic fashion. So we are working on this app. There are links everywhere on my X. It's called Bit Poseidon, and you can sign up for the alpha, by the way. So there is like a little window where you can put your name, and there will be like also newsletters. So maybe once every couple of weeks I send a newsletter with some updates, and you also can sign up for the app. Because soon we will do a free, but it will be like a alpha testing for the app. And so we have already like few hundred people, but I think we can go all the way maybe to 500. So sign up if you didn't. And if you want to discover the channel, so I was explaining how it works. There is a link in the Patreon, in the community in the YouTube, so you can go there. And just sign up, and then that will give you automatic access to the Discord, to the community, and also the indicator. Yes, so in crypto, so Orazio is asking, can I support in crypto? I will try to do that because it makes sense, right? It's coherent with our philosophy that we should stay in Bitcoin. So I will try to put like an address so people can also do that. And you will have to let me know, though. I mean, unless it's a donation, if you want to have access to TV, then let me know that you sent something, and then I can try to give you access. I will see if there is a better way of doing that, but just DM me and we can arrange a deal of some kind. Okay. So I'm trying to read the comments. Do you expect the deep? That is the big question, right? So we have a couple of stopping the next halving period. Yeah. So let's talk about all these things. So first of all, I wanted to show you some resources that you can use. The main one, and supposedly I can share the screen. So share screen. So see if this works. Forgive me if I am a little bit slow with these things because it's my first live. I've never done this before, and now I'm frozen. Looks like I keep too many things open in my computer. That is problem. Okay, let's see if this works. Share. Probably next time. My girlfriend of me all the time. So, but basically, it's able to see my X account, right? And so, if you go, can you see it? By the way, can you see my screen? So, anyways, if you go under my profile, right? So that is probably the first resource that you want to use. So here is Big Poseidon. I was telling you about the app. It's called like that because we are trying to joke on Poseidon, being the god of waves, right, and the sea. The entire idea is that we want to ride the waves, right? We want to learn how to ride these waves, and so this is why we use him as a kind of our god for these waves. And so if you click there, I don't want to click it because I don't want to slow down the computer if I go somewhere else. But I can show you later maybe. But the other one is this one. It's not ideal, so we can go there. You click here, and hopefully you can see this too. It takes a little bit of time to load. and then you should be able to. Do you see it? I don't know if you see this, but click on the Think Speak thing. Share this tab instead. Yeah, this will happen. Okay, and now you should be able to see it. Yes. So this map is updating every day. Sometimes, because it's just once a day, so if a price moves a lot during the day, you will only see. I don't remember when it's updated. Maybe UTC time. And so but it should update automatically. So this is why I did it. I did it in a way where I don't have to worry about posting stuff. I will continue to do this. I will have other maps that are updating on a daily basis, but this is kind of our point of reference for now, and it's free. Everybody can access it. And what this map does, so it's first of all, it's a zoom in, right? We are zooming in the overall power law pattern, right? And there are a couple of reasons. First of all, it's kind of nice to zoom in, and second, this is through MATLAB. MATLAB is a very expensive software, and they do offer some stuff like this. Like this is actually supposed to be for the Internet of Things, where if you have let's say you have a device, you have something that you want to connect with the internet, and you want to get data, then you can use this website. And it's useful because most of my calculations and most of my graphs are doing with this software because it has nice visualizations. And always give me feedback, because if you like some people tell me, don't plot the scientific notation. I know how to do that. I will take care of it because I like it, and also it's relevant because we work with scales, so this shows the scale. I know that some people have problems, so it's okay if anything that helps with making the message simpler, because there is no reason to make it more complicated, right? So some of the concepts are complicated, but it's also nice to see it in the simplest possible way. So if it helps to have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 instead of 10 to the 4, I will do that. Okay, I will change it. And let me know if there are other things you want to change. But right now, how to read this map. So the way to do this is, what it does, it gives us a date, right? And again, this is updated when my data source, I'm using Biconity. It's this place where I can get the data, and I'm getting the data live once a day. This map updates once a day, and that's also sorry if there is some background noise. I live very close to a street, unfortunately. My son gave me some software that is supposed to suppress the noise, but I didn't set it up yet. Hopefully it's not too loud. And I'm going to read your question in a moment, so continue to write comments. But I'm focusing on this for a few seconds, and then we can switch to the questions. So it gives the date. And I was telling you, I cannot get too much data because it's one of the limitations of this app. There is a way of getting more data, but in fact, I'm using ChatGPT. And sometime we can have some session where I can show you how to use ChatGPT to be like a friend of yours. If you use it, if you have a subscription. I have actually a paid subscription because I find it invaluable. It's amazing the things you can do. You can ask questions about even the power law. You can tell it what you want to do, calculate the value at a certain date. It can do a lot of interesting things. And also, if you're interested in coding, it almost is a teacher for coding. So even me, that I have some experience in coding, when I don't know something, I ask GPT-4 because it helps me with coding. But we were talking about how to get more data, because I treat it like a friend. I love AI. I love anything futuristic and stuff like that. So it's like my friend, like Jervis, like Iron Man and Jervis. So we have the same kind of relationship. I tell him, please, thank you. I don't know, it's silly, but I like it. But anyway, so in GPT-4, he was telling me that we could get more data. There is a way like pagination, but we can do that later. Right now, it's a zoom in. and it shows the color, right? So this color represents, like you can see from the label here, represents deviations, right? So the green and yellow, and these colors are there because the idea is that, if we are in the green area, we want to buy, right? If the yellow is still buying territory, but it's a little bit, you don't get that big discount that you will get if we were in the green area. So, these are deviation of minus 40%. What are meant for deviation? It's basically deviations from the general power law. Because remember, the power law is trying to find a middle ground between this high that we get in the cycles and the lows, right? So it's all done mathematically. It's not me drawing line there. It's all math, right? So the code trying to find this best fitting line is a general trend. I called it fair because, if it were not these fluctuations, these where the price will be. And so it's, some people criticize with this word fair, but it's just another way of saying that is your kind of average value that you want to use as a reference. And that value right now is given here. So it gives you the real value. So real value is calculated whenever the data source updates, that is once a day. So right now it says that is 50,000. Probably we are higher. I didn't check. I wake up really late. I'm like bat. I got to sleep very late, so I didn't check. But I think it's a little bit higher than that, right? And so it probably was updated last night or something, so it gives these. And then it gives you the fair value. So right now, this trend line, you can see it's higher, right? So whenever it's higher, it tells you the difference. And so it's going to be a negative number because it's basically the difference between the trend line and where the price is. And so right now we are about 15% discount. So I call it a discount because it's basically like you're still getting Bitcoin for a cheap price. And so it's about, and this number, it's silly because I put decimal places. It doesn't mean anything to put decimal places. Okay, yeah, that is what the calculation says. But, it's a rough estimate, right? So add plus 10%, right? Add and subtract 10% because it's still a rough estimate of what the trend value should be, right? So basically, what this is saying that if there were no these fluctuations, we should be at 60,000. So, when people think, oh yeah, this is crazy that we're paying 52, 53,000 for Bitcoin. No, you're still getting it at a discount according to this calculation. So that is pretty cool. And this is the discount. These are the next how many days there are from the halvings. The halving is this little star here, so it gives you a feeling of how far it is. So this is what this map does. I told you what the colors are. Now, there are a few things that you want to look at this chart, right? So the first thing will be very critical is when we cross this line, right? Because when we cross that line, I would say this is, in fact, in other charts, I don't know if you ever saw that chart of the animation in the circle. I use that to color code the areas of what I call bulls and bears. And basically it's when the price crosses this line. This when we consider like a real bull. It's it's an arbitrary thing, but it's a very interesting thing to see that actually we cross this line. And it didn't happen yet because, like I say, it will happen when we are about 60,000. And of course, if more time passes by, this value is going up, right? So I don't know when it's going to happen. It's difficult to predict. One thing we can do to try to make sense of all this is compare with what happened in previous cycles because it's also pretty regular. But it doesn't mean that it's going to follow exactly what happened in the next cycle. But see, this is why we want to look at this chart. I would say every day. You're welcome to watch it many times a day. This is what I do. But it's we will monitor it and see, and it will be a big event for us, right? For who follows the power law to when this happens, when this thing happens, because it will mean I don't think we are going down from there. It, I don't think it ever happened. We can check. I don't think it ever happened that the price went above that line during a bull market and then came back. And if it came back, it was very momentarily. So it really will mean we are in bull territory, so it's a very important event. Now, see, the philosophy here is we want to buy when we are in these areas, right? And in fact, when we are going to have the app, part of what the app is going to do is you decide how aggressive you want to be in your investment style. Do you want to, do you want to do DCA? Do you want to maybe do rebalancing? So rebalancing is this idea: you have two assets. Let's say you have cash and Bitcoin, unless you are all in Bitcoin. But even if you are all in Bitcoin, so then you have basically, you can think you have zero cash, right? So you have a portfolio, and you can do later. We can do it also. I know some people don't like that, but what if you have some crypto, right? You could do also with that. You have maybe several assets, and then you want to rebalance your portfolio according to the performance. So, and usually the idea is if there is an asset that overperformed, you want to sell a little bit of that asset, so you have the cash that. So if it goes back where there is a dip, you have some cash to buy back, right? To buy Bitcoin at a lower price. So that operation is called rebalancing. So the app will be able to do that. And usually when you do rebalancing, you really don't have in mind some kind of pattern for the asset. You just simply look at if one asset is more valued than the other in terms of how much you have in the portfolio. But given that we have this knowledge of a pattern, we can use it to kind of give a weight to that rebalancing. So we want to rebalance a lot when we are away from the trend, and so we start to go in these areas, the pink and the red area. So this is what the app will do. Doing all that manually, we can try, and I can help you, but it will be much better to have an app to do that. And this is what we are working on. So basically, it will be some kind of DCA, but guided by this map. So I don't think it will be a good idea to sell anything once we go in the pink area, because if anything, it's probably still time to buy. But I will treat it almost like if it was the yellow area, where we are a little bit overvalued. So don't wait maybe for a retracement. Wait for because while we are going up in general, once we are over that this blue line, very big retracement historically it happened, right? So wait for a retracement, try to rebalance a little bit, but it's not time to sell now. By the time we go in the red area, we will see, because it depends also on some local information, right? If we are very bullish, etc. But it's time to maybe be more aggressive with the rebalancing, and this will help us eventually to tell when we are very close to the peak. We, in addition to the bands, we also have the modeling. The other piece that I added to the model, where we can actually track where the peak is, but I will not rely on that 100%. It's kind of a more an inspiration that so the bands are much more reliable. But right now, just to analyze where we are, we are very nice, very bullish movements. We are not yet crossing this blue line, so everything is fine. And what this panel shows is basically the same graph, right? But what I did here is subtracted the general trend. So the general trend now will look like zero, because basically it's like we eliminated the trend, right? So everything is in reference to the trend. So the trend is zero here. And then I show the difference in percentage. So on the left here, you have a percentage, the difference in percentage through the trend. And so you can see here how something like close to 60% gave us the bottom. So we could determine very nicely the bottom if we did this in last year. In the beginning of the last year, we could have caught the bottom very nicely. And it's the reason why we draw it here is because it's very consistent. It's what you get also through the years, that it seems that this is where the bottom is. It never goes below that. And so it's a way of catching the bottoms. And again, we never try to be 100% correct, because nothing is in trading, even when you're dealing with Bitcoin. But again, through the bands and through some support and resistance kind of sorry, I called it resistance. I think I should call it support. That is now the right terminology. I noticed just now. I will change that. It's really like a line of support. And mostly is a support because we really never go below that. That is kind of a limit of what Bitcoin does in terms of trends, and then we went up, and now we are more like 15% below the trend. So do you have any questions? And here I put again the halving, etc. Do you have any questions about this particular graph? So I'll try to catch up and read. Are you really sure that Bitcoin follow? So let me ask you, I'll answer some of your question, and then we can go to the next tool that is actually the indicator. So let me read some of the comments. Let me catch up. You will be very interesting debate. Yeah, about the debate. So hopefully I pronounce it well. Giri or Giri. It will be very interesting debate between you and Plan B. Yeah, actually, I'm in contact. I don't know if I should say this, but I don't think it's a problem. We are talking with each other because there is some rivalry there, but also we like each other's work. We are supporting each other's work. It's kind of nice to have two competing models, actually. His model is very optimistic, I think too much. And in fact, I don't think, even if it was true, I don't think it would be good for Bitcoin to go exponentially, because things that go exponentially eventually crash down. And that is the beauty of my philosophy, what I'm trying to show and share with everybody, that is much more sustainable. What we have here is much more sustainable, and it's still growing fast, but it's something that because of its nature being a power law, and power law are like organisms. They are very strong. They are very stable, and so it's a good thing, But some people really like his model because he makes these crazy predictions, like supposedly this bull run we should go all the way to $500,000. That I think is crazy. And next one we should go to 5 million. And then we're not the next one. So by the time 10 years are passed by, Bitcoin will be like what, 100 million. It doesn't make sense. So my prediction, I think, is much more realistic and also good for Bitcoin, even if it requires for us to be a little bit more patient. And we did talk. So he was I proposed him, and because many other people say, hey, why don't you have a public debate? That would be cool. I think it would be very cool. And he agrees. He had some doubts in the beginning. I don't know why, but then recently told me it's a good idea, and he told me that he's busy with some other stuff. So we're thinking maybe like April, when he will be a little bit more free, and then we will have some kind of debate. And hopefully maybe we can have it on a regular basis. So I will keep you updated about that. Cass, so Horacio says Bitcoin and maybe Cass. I did some little work on Cass, so my intention will be, it's a lot of work, guys. You don't realize it's actually a lot of work to do all these calculations and get the data, but I want to do like almost a catalog. I want to go through a lot of crypto, maybe taking the top, I don't know, 100 of them, and then calculate how well they fit the power law, And when you fit the power law, you get that n, right? The n is the slope of the power, and that is very interesting because it tells us how fast the system grows. Uh, and also we can calculate r square, that is that number that tells us how good the fit is. Um, and so far, I tried a few coins. I tried Ethereum, I tried Litecoin, I tried Caspa, I tried a few more. The main problem with these, to be honest, is with Bitcoin we went from a few cents all the way to almost 100,000. So you have and remember, with the power law is all about the scales, right? So changes of 10, 100,000. And if you have a coin that didn't do that, and most coins didn't, because they don't have a history of Bitcoin or they didn't change as much as Bitcoin, then the power law is not really too serious thing, because you can kind of defeat the purpose of what a power law is supposed to do. But you can still do it, and maybe gives us a feeling if there is a power law potential. So we can call it power law potential, and it tell us something if a coin seems to follow a power law and that well, and if a coin doesn't. So I think it's still a valuable number. I don't know, you let me know what you think, but I think it will be a valuable, given we can explain the limitations of such analysis, and then we can post a catalog with all the different coins and these numbers, and what is the interpretation of these numbers. My feeling will be the strongest coins will have a very nice R square, as close as possible to 1, and then the n will also be close. Closer is to Bitcoin, better it is, because it means it's going fast as Bitcoin, and is going up in this power law fashion. And so it will tell us something. Let's see and compare. So it will be interesting. So far, this is why Horatio mentions CAS. I did do some calculation for CAS because I was asked by one of the people that interviewed me, and there were a lot of CAS people, people that invested in CAS or interested in CAS, in that group associated with this person. Um, and I was surprised to find that actually it's a beautiful power law so far, with all the restrictions that I mentioned before, right? Because with CAS we went from probably a couple of order of magnitudes, and so it's not really too serious of an analysis, but so far it follows a very nice power law. The R square, it's fantastic, like 0.92. That means 92% of the behavior we see so far can be explained by a power law. And the n was a little bit lower than Bitcoin. It was like something like 4.2, something like that, while Bitcoin is 5.83. So it's interesting, and you can use it also. You can make some bands like you do with Bitcoin. You can tell where the bottoms are, where the tops. So it's useful and interesting. Why not? So we will continue to analyze. Are you really sure that Bitcoin follows a power law? Is this somehow measurable? Let's say if Bitcoin drops. So I want to. This is Lazzoni that is asking this. Okay, so it's a very important question, and I will try to spend some time to find what is a test that we can do to tell we're not following the power law anymore. And very big ways. One way, because you can ask the opposite question: how, if you did this in the past, let's say if 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when were you sure that you were dealing with a power law? And one way to do that is, so actually in one way I can answer, because there are models. Like I also wrote a Medium article, and they say there was this guy, his name is Trollolo. I don't know if you guys know, because it depends on when you came in the crypto space. But old guys like us, like me, old from a crypto point of view. I'm also old in real life. Uh, Hopefully, one day we can find a way of going back. If we can. Interested in that kind of stuff. But hold from a crypto point of view. Um, there was this model that came out in 2014 by this guy Trololo, I think it is pronounced like that. And what he tried is, and you can go to my Medium article to read it. I will post it on X as a reference. What he did, he realized, and this was early on, but Bitcoin went through so many changes already. From being few cents to, I think by the time it was already hundreds of dollars. And so he had this very good intuition of focusing on the changes in scale. I don't think he knew about power law, because otherwise he will have mentioned them, because it's such a big deal. But he still had this intuition that focusing on the scale was important. So he made a graph of logs of price, and then he kept the time linear. That is, another conceptual jump, right? That I think I was the one contributing to that. But his idea was, hey, let me use some kind of fitting, and it's going to be some kind of non-linear fitting, because if you do that and you do a linear fitting in a log linear chart, it's not linear anymore, it's exponential, because this is what you get if you have log in the y-axis. Then if you have an exponential, it will look like a straight line. So if you do a linear fit, you're assuming that you're dealing with an exponential process. But even at that time, and when I look at the chart, and you go back to, we'll have some links, go back to that article, and I don't want to look it up right now because it will be a distraction. But it didn't look too much curve. It started to, in insight, you can say, oh yeah, it's curving, right? So the Bitcoin price looks like a curve in a log linear chart. It doesn't look like a straight line. If S2F was right, it will look like a straight line, and it doesn't. It looks more curved, right? And so he already saw that when it was not super clear that this is what was going to happen, and mostly because there are these bubbles, and the bubbles confuse a little bit the picture, and we had two large ones at that point. But yes, still had the intuition that there was some curving. And so if you have a non-curve, then you want to use a non-linear fitting, because when you do this fitting, when you do this regression, you can say, I want to do it linearly, I want to do it with a polynomial, that means something with powers of the x-axis, whatever that power is, not just a power law, but it could be x to a square plus x, x to a cube plus x to a square plus x, it could be something complicated like that. So that will mean that you're trying to do a polynomial fit, or you can do a log fit. And he decided to do a log fit for some reason. And then the answer was, oh, this looks very nice, log fit, because he got a very nice R square. He used the log of 10 on the y-axis, and he used the log of E, that is Euler's number, what is also called the natural log. I like the log 10 because it's easier, right? You take a log of 10 of 100, you get 2. You take a log of 10 to 1,000, you get 3, because 1,000 is 10 to the 3. So it's more natural, in particular for prices, to use log 10, in my opinion, even if the other one is called the natural log, but it's very less intuitive. But this is what he did, because of the log fitting it's set up to work with natural logs. When you use these algorithms and this software, and it spits out these numbers that are basically the slope. We look like a slope because, again, it's almost like an indirect way of doing a power law, but he didn't realize it was a power law. So he did it in this very cumbersome way, and he got numbers that are different from ours, because he had the log 10 on the y-axis and log E on the x-axis. So he was getting parameters that are different, but it's very easy to convert back in similar logs on both axes, and then basically you get back the power law. So I didn't recognize it myself. I read that article and I was intrigued, but I thought it was, there was nothing fundamental. It was like, I'm going to do some arbitrary fitting. I think the log is a good fitting. Why not? Let's try. So it was like one of the different models. The big reveal for me was when I did the log that I saw this crazy straight line that, there was no doubt what was going on there. So this was my main contribution. But I mentioned this model because it kind of answered in a way, the question about how sure we are that we are dealing with this phenomenon, because this guy, he was doing this in 2014 and he was coming very close. The parameters were off, both because of how cumbersome he was doing it, but also because he was doing it very close to one of these bubbles, one of these big bull runs, and it was skewed. The fitting was skewed, but he was still, the overall trajectory seemed pretty consistent with what he could see for Bitcoin at that time. So and so there are tests. Like one test could be to measure the slope. So we measure the slope and we trace it over time. And when you do this, like I went, backwards, because you can go backwards in time. Right? I say, like, let's go. I don't want to go too far, because at a certain point, remember, we want to have enough of a change in scale, to make it meaningful. So let's say we go back all the way, to 2014. So it's almost like, 8 years, something like that. And then we add more and more points to the analysis, and we recalculate this n, and then we plot it, right, as a function of time. And when you do that, so me and Berger, he's this very, very bright guy. He's like younger than me, probably 10, 15 years. And he actually got some notoriety for some time, because he actually took my Reddit post. He liked it. Because he's bright and he knows math. So when bright and math, people that like math, look at that graph, they know what is going on. Dr. Kruger did the same. He looked at the graph. He has a math PhD from Stanford, and he's one of the Bitcoin commentators. He called it amazing, because the graph, he calls it amazing because it's obvious. For people that understand math, it's obvious. So he looked at the graph, and he had the understanding to appreciate it, and he wrote an entire article, in fact several articles, basically kind of explaining a little bit more in the detail, because my Reddit was very, very short and I didn't go too much in the detail. So he elaborated, he added some details to it. He took this difference, but I had this difference too in my Reddit. It was another comment. I took the differential, right? He called it the Bitcoin power law oscillator, because it's going to oscillate over a long time around this zero line. But I already did that too, But so it was a great contribution, because he kind of let people know about it. But the problem is that many people started to associate the model with him before I got, more public. It's okay, but so we started to work together, and recently we wrote an article discussing all these issues about stabilities, etc. And that is one of the things we did. We did this N, and we already did it in the past, but now we publish, and again, you can look it up. I will give you some links, etc. But we plotted this N as a function of time, and what happens is oscillates around a value, like an average value. And what that means is the model is very stable. Bitcoin is doing this thing. It's just that when you calculate this N, it depends on where you are. If you are, imagine there is this big peak, and then doing, the fitting close to the peak, is going to be skewed by the peak. So you want more data, and then one good approach could be to average this N over time and see if it is stable, if it is oscillating. So if you continue to oscillate reasonably around one value, that means the model is still doing what it's supposed to do. Now, if you start to deviate, where you can see, and again, there are mathematical ways of calculating this deviation, if we start to see this deviation, then it means the model doesn't work anymore and something else is changing. And so we will monitor it and find out. But so far, it looks like it's behaving in this way. And many people say, oh, that means that the model is doing what it did until it doesn't. Well, it's more than that, because this entire idea of using the power law is a philosophy. And the philosophy is power laws are stable. Right? So unless something dramatic comes that changes the system, and it can happen, but usually something dramatic, like, if you have an organism, the organism continues to grow until it reaches, biologically or genetically, or, a limit where it cannot grow bigger than that. And then it stops or it does something else, So it's going to be something relatively dramatic to change this trajectory if this hypothesis is right? Remember, we are trying to do science. We're always making this like an hypothesis, right? That needs to be tested. We need data. We are updating it. And by the way, that is the other thing that some people say, oh, it's not fair that if more data come in, you're adjusting your prediction. It would not be fair in terms of telling people, right, we can trust it, if the prediction was completely off. But if it is just a question of changing that little n by a little bit, it's not a problem, And in fact, I did a post recently where I was plotting a lot of the lines that you get, these straight lines, these fitting lines with different ends. So, when you do this exercise of adding points, and it's not different, it's like they are all on top of each other, in particular if you focus on these changes of order of magnitude, so it's not a big deal. But you're right, it's a good question, and I will come up with a criteria, because it will be good to have a criteria so we are coherent and consistent. Say, hey, we are not meeting anymore that criteria. But let me think about what will be a good test to say, hey, we are not following anymore what we were following before, because we want to know. And by the way, this model is useful also for that, to tell us something is happening with Bitcoin that is not making it do whatever it was doing before. But right now, the hypothesis, if we want to be coherent with the theory, is that it will continue to do what it's doing. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if ETFs are coming in, because all these things that are happening because of this. It's a feedback loop, right? So at this particular time of the history of Bitcoin, the ETFs are the right thing for Bitcoin to happen. And it's not going to create a phase transition. It's not going to change dramatically the behavior of Bitcoin, maybe locally, maybe temporarily, but overall, no, because it's exactly what Bitcoin needs to go to the next step. And, in 5 years from now, 2 years from now, something else will happen. When Bitcoin is ready to become the world currency, what will happen is that nations start to adopt Bitcoin, and you will think, oh, that is an event that for sure will change the Bitcoin trajectory. No, it's the other way around. Bitcoin is, it's at that stage where that event is going to happen. Do you understand this philosophy? Does it make sense? And it's just, again, an hypothesis. Is it true? Is it not true? But it's consistent, right? When you make these hypotheses, the first thing you want to do is self-consistency. You want to be self-consistent in your understanding of the phenomena. So it's a self-consistent way of thinking about what is going on. And it's good in terms of prediction, because this is why I can make prediction, because if crazy things will happen, then why making prediction at all? We want to be consistent, right? We want to, and we are basing our consistency on the fact that it's not just some tracing of arbitrary line. We are trying to find some very powerful, very inherent property of a system. And this is why the system will continue. It's like when we do this biological graph, right? When I show you that law about metabolism and weight, right, in one of my posts. It's something that is not going to change. Like if a new animal comes about, it's still going to respect that because it has the same biology. It has now. Sometimes there are dramatic changes. Like, if you notice the birds, right? The birds will be away from that straight line a little bit. Because why? Because they gave up this trade-off between efficiency in metabolism with the fact that they can fly. So flight gives you an advantage. You're going to consume more energy, and it's not ideal, but because you're doing this extra thing that is flying, you're going to go off from that trend, from that power law trend. But then, between birds, it will still follow, because the birds now have their own law. So if you compare many different birds, they will have their own little straight line. And so this gives you like an entire philosophy. This is why I tell you it's much more, and this is why it's worthwhile for you guys to come and listen me talking about this stuff, because there is a lot more than just fitting some line. It's like an entire way of thinking, and it's also you can apply to other things in life, because it's really interesting. It gives you like a window to understand a lot of phenomena in life. So anyway, that to answer your question about do you believe, I yeah. I think we are into something. It's something big, and believe me, it's not just another meeting we can go through that. It's not just about the time that is a power law, but the hash rate is a power law of price. The addresses is a power law. There are all of them. There are power laws all the way down. There are power laws everywhere in Bitcoin. So there is almost nothing random in its behavior. I don't know why it's not well known. I don't know why everybody doesn't talk about that. But hey, it's good that we know, that in our group we discuss this and we are aware of this, So anyway, let's go through the question. Sorry if I take a little bit too long. I'm kind of like discussing one issue. It goes like for a long time. But okay, are you really sure? Can I run it in my R software? Yes, if you know how to calculate it, and I can show. At some point, we can have some more technical meetings where we can discuss how to use MATLAB or how to use Excel or other software. Because in one end, of course, I would like you to use the tool that I give you, and support me with that. But it's all about knowledge and science. So if you want to develop your own model or what you want to help me explore it, I am all for it, and I can help you with maybe give me a tip when I give you the lecture, and we can go through the lecture. Use whatever you think is fair. But yes, if you want to use R, I'm not super familiar with R, so maybe I can show you what they do in MATLAB, and you can reproduce in R. And to be honest, I never use R. I know that a lot of people will love use that software. I work with people that use R, but I don't know how. But I can, maybe you can replicate it, and we can use GPT-4 also to help us to find the translation between one model to the other. So yeah, Lazzoni, we can do that. It's helpful to color code the price as a deviation from the fair value that one can see. Right, I actually did that ratio. I have another chart where people liked where I color coded the deviation, and I want to make that live. But it looked very nice, very beautiful. I don't know if you ever saw that. Probably you didn't, but it's one of my posts, and we should do that and have a chart, a live chart for that. It looks very nice. So basically, what Horacio is proposing, instead of having these bands, why don't you use like dots that are color coded, and bigger the deviation, the color will change. So it's a very cool idea. And look, when we do science, we like to show things in many different ways because you get different insights. So that approach I like it. Also, it's visually nice to see. How high will Bitcoin need to be in next 24 months to validate model? Now, the problem, so that is a good question by Edis Lucky. Forgive me if I pronounce your name incorrectly, okay? I have this very thick accent, and sometimes when I see also, like some people have problems, like right, you have the same problem when you pronounce my name. Like many English-speaking people have really hard time to pronounce By the way, it's pronounced Santo Stasi. So it's like you break it into Santo and then Stasi. And we like in Italian, we like to put the accent in the semi last syllable. So it's the emphasis is in Santo Stasi, Santo Stasi. But you can break it in two pieces if it's Santo Stasi. Oh, just call me Giovanni. Anyway, so and I was talking with my girlfriend, say, why do you think it sounds like some people say sounds like Satoshi? Like it doesn't sound Satoshi to me. It's like probably they see all these vowels and they get confused. So I see all these consonants and even if I lived like 30 years in this country, it's so funny. In the United States, it's still, when you grow up and like in Italy, we like vowels. It's all about vowels, and the English is all about consonants. So we are kind of the opposite. So forgive me if I pronounce incorrectly your name. But Edis Lucky says how I will Bitcoin need to be in the next 24 months to invalidate the bubble. The problem with that is right now we're entering in one of these bubble territory, right? And the model is, is not really meant to reproduce the bubble. Yes, I tried to do it with that addition. Remember, I have these models where I'm trying to kind of follow the curves, but it's a simplification because I'm trying to do it with a sine wave. It's just a way of saying there are these periodic things that are happening for years, so we can try to include it in the model. But the model is not super good in trying to say what is going to happen when we have this bubble. It's mostly trying to tell us we are deviating. So, be careful because at a certain point the deviation is so big that the price needs to go down. So it's very good in doing that. But, technically, so when I do that modeling based on some of the things that we observe, one of the main things we observe is that the price is going down, from the peak, actually in a very regular fashion. I plotted them and they follow like an exponential. But it's only 3 points, so we don't know if they are really going down, if it is a statistical fluctuation. But if they continue to go down like that, then my prediction is that the top will be around 200,000. When and this is going to happen sometime at the end of 2025. So and we should reach that price now. If it is 210, forgive me, if it is 220, but I don't want to bet everything on predicting that peak, even if I think it would be interesting if it really did that. Of course, once it happens, if it happens that way, I will say, I told you, I was like, look how amazing I was, I will do that for sure. But, I don't want to. It's the weakest part of the model, because it's mostly the general trend that we are focused on. This is like an addition to the model, so it's a little bit weaker. But that is a problem, right? If there are these huge big deviation, how do we know that the model is invalidated? I will say we need to wait until this cycle is over, until we reach a peak. Let's see what the peak is, and then it goes back, right? And it's a very strong test for the model because if you look at the general trend, right? If you look at the other chart, the model predicts that we don't go below these 60%, right? So this is where the big test is going to be, because so far has been one of the strongest part of the model is that we have this bottom line that has been very strong. Now, if it dips a little bit below that bottom line, don't be too harsh on the model, right? Now there is a deviation of, like, let's say it goes all the way down to 70-80% from the trend, then something different happen, but that is where I would like to test the model myself, right? Because without ego, because it's science again. We want to test and see if things go like that. But if a model is correct, we will reach this peak, it will go down. Usually takes about a year from the peak to reach the bottom. This is the typical time. And then it should be 60%. So can we do on our head what is 60% of 200,000? But, if I remember well, it's basically like a little bit less than 100. So it should be close to 70, right? So maybe somebody can do in their calculator, but it should go down to that level, and the chart will tell exactly where, right? And they can calculate it later, and they can tell you. Maybe I can add in the chart what is the prediction for the top, what is the prediction for the bottom. So that one, if I violate that, and even more if it, comes to that value and then it doesn't continue because the model predicts that it should continue to along this green band, So this is when we will know that the model continues to do what it's doing, that it reaches the bottom, and then it looks like, let's see how here we were very well within, so we reach the bottom, and then
Hello, Moto.
Sorry, I got a phone call. Okay, let's close this thing. You see how we reach the bottom, and then we stay within that band, very narrowly within that band. That is what the model predicts. So that will be a big test for the model, and it's lucky. If that doesn't happen, it does something weird, etc., then there is some problem with the model. Now, what I think, Lazzoni asked, what do you think personally to S2F model? Okay, two things. One, S2F, he did a great job, because first of all, he's in, he's a brother in a sense, because he's in this camp of people that are trying to send the message that we can predict the price of Bitcoin, that it's predictable, that we can make this model, that there are regularities, so he had an important role in that. The other role that I didn't see myself, and it would have been amazing because I got trashed during the the cycle in 2017-18. When I say it's mostly my company and doing everything through a company that other people also own. So I don't want to have personal, because there are liability there, for different reasons. But so my company, my investments through this group and this fund that we created had a lot of altcoins. And again, you learn from experience. Mostly why? Because we saw that some of these altcoins, and we're all solid altcoins at that time. I don't know, again, if you guys know any of these coins, were like things like Monero, Dash, because Dash was really hot, when it came out, because it was supposed to be like more anonymous, and they went up many times relatively to Bitcoin. So we got greedy and we jumped in, and so we got really leverage. And it was the good thing to do, if you want to multiply your coin, because that was the goal. We sell everything and we get more Bitcoin. But I was stupid, and I had the chart in front of me. I didn't understand the cycle yet, as well as do right now. And I thought, oh, something was broken here, because look at this. It looks like we are going up and up and up. Institutions are coming in, and because even at that time there were some institution coming in. It's different this time, and it was no different. And it crashed. And we could have done very well if we had this chart and we believed it, and we didn't. And so the role of S2F is also that, to point out there are these cycles that are associated with the halving. Again, a relatively trivial thing if you think back. Of course the halving is going to do something, but these things are trivial until somebody think about it. That is sometimes the genius of somebody like S2F, to point out something trivial, but that nobody else ever pointed out, because nobody else say, okay, this is one of the things that drives the bubble, at least that I know. And so his model, though, the problem with this model, there are several, but one of them is, if the model predicts there is a very precise jump in price at every halving, and it's constant, right? So you have this jump every time we have an halving. So it's well known, mathematically that if you have a process like that where something changes by the same amount at regular intervals, you do it over and over again, what you get? An exponential. And so his prediction, it is not evident immediately because the halving are happening every 4 years. So it's if it were happening every few minutes, you will see that it doesn't go exponential like that. But because it's every 4 years, it's not evident yet that you are supposed to get an exponential. But if you do it over and over again, this is what you get. And it's not good. One, it's not good for a system to behave like that. And two, it's not what is happening. And just look at, we can do another episodes about comparing the models, but it's evident that the model is not reproducing what the price is doing. If you notice, for example, how there are these plateaus in S2F, right? Because of the price, then is another prediction of a model that supposedly the price, once the halving over, the price should be flat, and it's not. In fact, it follows the power law. How S2F explains that it doesn't. But according to the model, price should stay flat, and you can say, it's an approximation, blah blah blah. Okay, but at least the price should be on top of that, right? If not immediately, quickly, maybe after it peaks, it should at least stays above there, and it doesn't. And in fact, it never, like the last cycles, it never went above that plateau. Previously, the previous cycles, the model did that, but now it didn't. And he comes up with excuses saying, oh, there was China, there was this, there was that. I don't make this excuse. I'm telling you the opposite. Say, I don't care what happens when my model will continue to do what it's supposed to do. Which model is better? I think mine, because I'm telling you, I'm consistent. I need to be coherent. He comes up with excuses. Oh, my model didn't work this time because of this. So your model doesn't work, So, and the next cycle will be really critical, because at that point you will see a huge, big difference between my prediction and his prediction. His prediction is like 500,000. And in that case, you can say, well, but it's a bubble. He said, no, because the bubble is what he focused on. It's really his real prediction, while in my case is a deviation. In his case is the prediction. So if a price doesn't go where he says it goes, and also it doesn't stay there where it's supposed to stay, then he has a real serious problem with his model. And he even agrees that this time there are no excuses. If his model doesn't do what he says it does, it's over. So it's one more cycle, and it will, and maybe both models are wrong. So it will be a really good thing. But for my model, we will need to go back to the trend, to see if we are following the trend. So I'll answer the question. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome. Is there a way to see the historical data from MATLAB? I have got some idea. Yeah, I post them on my X, and I say I would like to make these long term. I just need to figure out this data issue, and then I will do that. Then we will have a long term map. Now, if you use maybe we don't have time because we are already 1 hour, so maybe let's have in a couple of days, if you like, another session where we cover the trading view indicator, because it's already 1 hour and I can show you a little bit, but I want to keep it at least, maybe no more than 1 hour and 30 or something. But we can have more often. It's here already, there are about 18 people. It's cool. It's great. So anyway, yeah, so we will do that, and yeah, please share your idea and your thoughts. This is exactly why we are doing these sessions, because I would like to think and talk with you. This is one of the amazing things about teaching, quote unquote. Here is more sharing, but if I am, let's say, your professor or whatever, because I have a little bit more experience with you, we are learning together. This is why I love teaching, because while you're teaching, you learn so much. You need to think, better about what you're explaining. It forces you to really, really understand. You cannot teach something unless you really understand it. And teaching forces you to understand what you're talking about. And also interaction with the students, you always learn something because the students has a question or has a suggestion, or it helps with some other things. It's really cool. Um, do people here? Let's see. Hopefully, I don't miss anybody. Is that possible to pay you in cash? Is faster? Yeah, I will try to get some support for crypto if you really want to help with supporting the project in that way. Let me think about what I can do. Um, just buy, never sell, easy. Well, yeah, and that is one approach that some people have. But listen to this. Look, let's say we are close to, like in the last cycle, and we are close to 60,000, and the map tell us it's not that good idea to buy now. And you have, let's say you are saving some money because you want to buy some Bitcoin, you want to do DCA, right? It's not a good recommendation if the map tells you, hey, wait a couple of weeks, wait a month, keep that money somewhere in your saving, and then buy, because the price will go down, and it will go down by a lot. What is wrong with that, Eddie Slacky? Tell me. So even Odler can use this chart. So it's not, you can be aggressive and do these things. Sometimes I suggest sell your Bitcoin, rebuy at the bottom. But even if you don't want to do that because you want to get, you want only to buy and you never want to sell your Bitcoin, but you want to do DCA, why not to wait a few weeks and then buy at a much lower price? Why not? It's not useful information. I don't think you can argue against that. So it's still useful, right? I don't know. I think everybody probably agrees on that. So maybe you didn't think it is lucky in that way, but think about that, right? If I have a way to tell you, and it works, that you should wait a couple of weeks to buy Bitcoin, buy it when it's cheaper. Why not? Okay. It's not too late to buy Bitcoin. It's not, but there are good times and there are bad times. When it's overpriced, it's not a good idea. Why should you should do that? Much better to use this information to do DCA in the way I'm suggesting to do it. All right. When yes, this is tend to organism, right? So it behaves like an organism. Yeah. So Nicola, buongiorno. He's asking me a question in Italian. A parere suo, quanta è la probabilità che BTC segua effettivamente questo trend in future? In science, you never can say 100%. You can use whatever we and sometimes, and also that is one of the things we hear all the time. Oh, use the past, predict the future. I agree that a lot of these. So there is a problem. I did trading a lot, right? I do algo trading a lot, and I play with a lot of assets. With the other assets, and sometimes I couldn't sleep at night because of this, right? Because it's not just me. I had algos that other people followed, so it's also being responsible for other people money indirectly, because I'm not an advisor, but if I make an algo and you use it, I want you to be successful. I'm not trying, I'm happy when you make money. I'm not trying to cheat you or scam you or anything. It's the opposite thing. I want to help you and help myself also, because I always put, my money where my mouth is. I never tell you to do something that I'm not going to do, never. So with normal assets, you still try. That is the entire point of doing algo trading. And believe me, algo trading is the thing that people do. Okay. So when people say, oh, it doesn't work. Yeah. Okay. This is why you're losing money. And, the best fund in the world that is called Medallion is basically like a physics and math department in a university. In fact, university complain there are too many physicists leaving and doing financial stuff instead of doing physics. Why? Because it works. And if it didn't work, see, I say all the time, sorry if I use a bad word, but the market is a bitch. It's one of a few activities where you cannot really bullshit. If you bullshit, you get out very quickly because you lose all your money. They fire you. People don't follow you, or they don't invest in what you propose to invest. So it's one of the hardest fields. Okay. The problem with that is, yes, you can try to do some of these, like looking at the past, predicting the future, but you have to update your model all the time. And there is always the risk of doing what is called overfitting. What that means is, you basically trying to model so well the past that all what you're predicting is the past. So basically, you're assuming that whatever happened in the past, indirectly, right, is also going to happen in the future. And you did it so well that basically you reproduce the noise and not the signal. Here we are dominated by the signal. There is not at all what you do there. What you do there, you're hoping for a small little signal, and sometimes even like being above the chance. Like, so, remember we have 0.95. This model is 0.95, right? R square. If you get an R square of 0.6, let's say, in normal trading, you can still use it because at least temporarily gives you a slight advantage, right? It's almost like, think about you're a dice and you're rolling these dice, and 60% of the time you win. Is a good dice, it's cheating basically, right? This is why you can make money by using this approach. But after a few days or months or weeks, sometime, like we had an algorithm that was working fantastically, for a while, and it was going up because the market was going up, but we are going faster than the market. It was working fantastically, and I had a scientific way of showing that it really worked, and we had an advantage over the market. But then that advantage disappeared for different reasons. There was COVID, there was some. So it happens, and the only way to do it is that you have to update all the time, and it's always a slight advantage over chance. Anything above 50%, it's almost like you are at a house, you're beating the odds. With this, we have a 95%. It's really cheating. It's like crazily cheating. Now, you have to understand the limitations. We are not trying to predict the price tomorrow. We are trying to predict the price, a few weeks from now, a few months from now. So are we reaching a top? Are we reaching a bottom? These are the questions that this model is very good, almost perfect, scarily perfect. So in this case, yeah, we have a really strong advantage. It should continue to do these. And the number to use is that R square. We have a 95% confidence that if a model will continue to do what he has done, in particular because we have 15 years of history. It has done this for 15 years. Do you want to bet that it's going to do this for the next 2 years? I'm going to bet, and that's up to you. I cannot force you. So that is the answer to that question. Are other parameters of Bitcoin fall? Yes. Hash rate is a power law. Almost everything I looked up, everything is power laws of each other, because of course hash rate is related to the price, but then is also because the price is related to addresses. So that means hash rate is also related to addresses. Addresses are related to transactions. All of them. In fact, I have a graph where I put all on top of each other, right? Because they are a power law, then you can say, okay, how they look on a time graph. They all look like they are following the price of Bitcoin. I don't know if you saw this chart, and they call them the 4 horses of the apocalypse, because I had hash rate, addresses, transactions. I even had S2F. All of them follow these power laws. Even S2F is a power law. It's a power law not of time, but a power law between S2F and price. And then, that is what he observes. And then Plan B says, because then the S2F changes by this factor, by 2, then the price goes up by 10. I think that is the wrong reasoning for different reasons, but this is where the model fails. But otherwise, S2F is also a power law. In Bitcoin, everything is a power law. And why is a power law? Because power laws are the property of networks. It's, again, one of these things that is completely evident. It's beautiful because it's what the theory predicts, but also, unless somebody showed it and proved it and used it, and many people don't even use it. They think, It's still something that you can use the old way of thinking. It goes up, it goes down. The media never talks about this. They will never talk about this because I don't think that the normal people can handle it. Like, what can you tell? Oh, we have these assets that we know what is going to do 10 years from now. Absolutely. 1 million, invest in it. They will never do that. So, but the beauty is that we know we have an advantage. Knowledge is power. And it's it's perfect because we are talking about power laws, right? So now knowledge is power law. So we have an advantage. What happens with the model when last BTC is mined? Yeah, not just mine, but what happens when BTC is going to reach a value where it's more valuable than all the money in the world. First of all, we can even calculate when that happens, and because things are slowing down, right? It's going to take, but it will be interesting. I'm going to do that calculation. But I spend all morning, Andy, thinking about that this morning because yesterday I was looking at this video by Taleb. I don't know if you know him, Taleb. He's like a thinker in this field of complex systems, and he's talking about anti-fragility and all these topics. And the other paper, the people call it the black paper, to contrast it with the white paper of Satoshi. And he was trying to explain mathematically why Bitcoin is worth 0. And the math is kind of silly because beyond math, there is always intuition. You need to understand what the heck the math is trying to do. And then you can use math to support your claim. But if you don't understand what the math is trying to say, it's meaningless. And so when I thought about what he's trying to say, he's trying to say basically that if you really go through the math and the BS, is always a usual arguments, basically, right? That what if somebody doesn't, what if people don't like Bitcoin anymore and they are abandoning? What if some catastrophic failure happened to Bitcoin when it goes to 0? But the main argument was there'd be a point where Bitcoin, what if everybody just uses Bitcoin? It becomes a world currency. You get paid in Bitcoin. You buy stuff in Bitcoin. Everything happens in Bitcoin. First of all, when is that going to happen? We can try to calculate it with the power law, but I guess it's going to happen in maybe 50 years from now. In 50 years from now, AI will be so clever and so amazing. You know about this singularity, right? That Kurzweil talks about. It's going to happen. It's going to happen for sure. I don't know if it's going to happen 30 years, 50 years, probably less than 50 years. In 50 years, machines will be more intelligent than human beings. If we don't integrate with them, they take over. It's not even worthwhile to talk about 50 years from now. Really, it's not worthwhile because people don't realize how fast technology is moving, and in 50 years, the world is not going to be like we know right now. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. I know it sounds scary and crazy, but it's going to happen. And when AI takes over, or we merge with technology, or whatever crazy scenario happens, and everything is going. That is going exponential. The pace of technology is exponential. In fact, it's double exponential. And this is one of the things that I suggest you to read about Ray Kurzweil. Sometime we can even talk about that because, in a sense, he is also relevant to all this stuff. Because if we make this kind of prediction of 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, we need to understand what is going on in other fields of knowledge like AI, technology, and so on. And he did almost what I'm doing here. Ray Kurzweil, I don't know if you know this guy. He's an engineer. His main thing is writing these books about what technology does, and he has these graphs where he takes the progress of technology over time, all the way going to when we invented the wheel, and then making projections of what happened next. And his graphs are scary how accurate they are. But there are no power laws most of the time. They are exponential. In fact, even showed that they are double exponential. They go really, really fast. And so 50 years from now, it's great to make a prediction of what was going on in 50 years from now. But theoretically, and this is what I was spending my entire morning thinking about what is going on when that is going to happen. I don't know. Something needs to change where, if you have something that everybody else needs to do anything else, right? Paying other people or paying machines to do something, or the machines even pay. Like one of the beautiful things about Bitcoin, that eventually this AI will trade Bitcoin between themselves. This is how you will have a machine doing something else for another machine. I give you some Bitcoin, do this for me, and uh, because they can transfer it so quickly in the internet. So if you are hoarding Bitcoin and they need it to do something, the value will still be there, even if everything is traded. So they will have to pay a fee almost to the people. And I don't know how it's going to happen. Maybe it will be I think the code will need to be changed where maybe you get a reward by just holding, like almost staking, or maybe there is like a fast type of market where people can buy your Bitcoin. You're selling a little bit because you're hoarding and people need your Bitcoin. So you basically they need to pay almost like a fee to you in Bitcoin to actually you lending them some Bitcoin. I don't know, something like that. It's almost like lending, and then you get them back. Something will have to change where it's still going to be valuable because it's a finite resource that everybody needs, right? So I don't know all the details. I need to think about. I thought that would be an interesting exercise to think about a society like that, that only uses Bitcoin, and how you exchange Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is going to have value, when everybody uses Bitcoin. But we are not there yet, right? We are not there yet. But it will be an interesting thing to study, and maybe we can think about together, I don't know. But yeah, it's a very interesting topic, when that is going to happen and what will going to happen. This is why I never make projection more than 10 years from now, because it's already incredible to try to think about the value of an asset 10 years in advance. It's like nobody ever has done that. So let's stick with that and maybe fantasize about other scenarios. But at that point, I will be doing not science if I say we can predict it beyond that. It's not realistic. I think this covers most of the question of the answers. Will not be 10 minutes block time in Bitcoin and immensely long time for machines using Bitcoins. Uh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know. I think machines are becoming more, faster and more powerful, and um, these limitations will be nothing in the future. But yeah, I don't. This is something that I don't know. So if I don't know something, I will tell you. Okay. Yeah, Ray, I love it. It's something that people should study because it's also very relevant. He has an entire book that is called The Singularities Near. So if you didn't read it, go and read it. And also he has talks online. But he does something very similar to what I'm doing, is taking these trends and then extrapolate the trend to the future. And he has been very right over the time. He has been consulted by large companies like Microsoft, Google, etc. In fact, Google hired him as a head of AI. I don't know if he's still working there, but for some time he was the head of AI for Google. It's this idea of using the trends from the past when you can use them, when they are reliable, when they show there is some, because again, it's the philosophy behind it. It's not, oh, look, there's this trend, let's extrapolate it. What does it mean? What is the basis of doing that? And this idea is that there are some laws, some particular ways that society develops, technology develops, the type of resources that are coming in discovering something, the pace of society, etc. All these things that seem random, they are not. And if they're not random, then you can extrapolate them in the future. That is the entire point. So it's ridiculous when people say you cannot use the past to predict the future. If that it was not possible, we could not do anything. Because we are prediction machines. This is what human beings do. This is why we have power over nature, and we are we tell animals what to do, not the other way around. There are no animal farming humans, so we do farm them. because we can predict the future and they cannot. We do it all the time. And how do you predict the future if not looking at the past and looking at patterns from the past and extrapolating the future? Now, the problem is that sometimes when you do that, you can be wrong because you see a pattern where there is not. So one should say, be careful, because we tend to see patterns where there are not. That is at a fault, right? Because why we do that? Because sometimes it's actually better to err on the side of seeing patterns. Like, let's say I hear a sound in the bushes. Is it better for me to think it's just random, some noise, some wind, or think there is a tiger there? It's better to think there is a tiger because, in that way, I err on the side of caution. And if I was not a tiger, fine, it's not a big deal. I just went somewhere else. I took a little bit of a deviation from my path. But if it was a tiger, I will be killed. So this is what we do. Sometimes we make mistakes because we see, things where they are not supposed to be when, we make these predictions. But, this is why science helps us, because science, differently from using, our emotions and our instinct, help us to think through in a very consistent and coherent way through data, and this is why I'm trying to do things in this way, because it's all consistent and mathematical, and we can compare it, with the prediction, with what happens, see where we went wrong. It's very systematic. Yeah. So, and I'm going to finish here because I'm getting tired. Probably most of you getting tired of listening to my Italian accent and talking about all this random stuff. But hopefully it has been useful. I really appreciate you being here and supporting all these with your questions and with whatever level of support you want to give. And let's do this again. We can do it on a regular basis. I will let you know. Maybe we can have a schedule so in advance. And thank you so much to be here. And if you have some other questions, I am also on Twitter. You can interact with me there. And join also our Discord. We have our Discord. It's through the Patreon, but again, it's like even $5, that is the minimum support level, will give you access to the indicator, will give you, and I know I didn't talk about the indicator, but let's do that in a couple of days, okay? Give me a chance to recover a little bit, and maybe more of you get in, so I will talk to a bigger group. So in a couple of days, let's only focus on the indicator and no other distractions, and let's do that, okay? So, and if you want to know more about how to join the Discord, go under community in the YouTube channel, and there are instructions there. Or I will make a post also on Twitter today, so you can also look at my Twitter and see the instructions there. Okay. Yeah, the indicator. Once you sign up and you join the Discord, come to the Discord, and we have like a channel where everybody puts their TradingView name. That will help me to add you, because I need to know what is your name on TradingView to add you. So come there. So basically, this is what you do: sign up for the Patreon, come to the Discord, say hello to everybody, join the community, add your name to the channel with all the people that want to have the indicator, and then I will add you. And 2 days from now, let's go through the indicator, how to use it, what it does, and so on. Okay, Andy? Those that help. Ok, I'm going to close the stream. Ciao ciao, ci vediamo la prossima volta, next time. Ok? Ciao.